Archegos Capital Management founder Bill Hwang was just sentenced to 18 years.
Charged with racketeering, securities fraud, and wire fraud.
How did someone so secretively build a $36 billion fortune and then so publicly lose it in a matter of days?
But by the time Bill Hwang was standing in court, the damage had already been done. Because this wasn't just a failed investment. It was one of the most violent, hidden collapses in modern Wall Street history. To understand how it happened, you have to go back to March 2021. At that time, Archegos Capital was managing around $36 billion in assets. On paper, it looked like a highly successful family office. But underneath that performance was something far more dangerous. Extreme leverage, spread across multiple global banks, with no single institution seeing the full picture. Everything shifted on March 22nd. After markets closed, Viacom CBS announced a multi-billion-dollar stock offering. Viacom was one of its largest concentrated positions, and now that position was under pressure. The next morning, markets opened. Viacom dropped nearly 9%, and within hours, Credit Suisse made the first call, a margin call. But this wasn't an isolated event. And as long as prices rose, that leverage looked like genius. But when prices turned, it became a trap. Once Viacom fell, the system started to loop. Margin calls forced selling. Selling pushed prices lower. Lower prices triggered even larger margin calls. And those margin calls forced even more selling. A feedback loop, feeding on itself. Internal estimates across banks suggested more than $50 billion in total risk. Because something else was happening at the same time. Every major bank was exposed to the same trades. Each one believed they were managing their own isolated risk. But in reality, they were all holding pieces of the same explosive position. And none of them knew how big the others were. Then came the realization. If one bank started selling, prices would drop. If prices dropped, every bank would trigger margin calls. And if every bank triggered margin calls at the same time, there would be no liquidity left. Only forced sellers competing against each other. That's exactly what happened. Once selling began, it didn't slow down. It accelerated. Positions built over months were unwound in hours. Entire blocks of stock hit the market with no natural buyers. And prices collapsed under their own weight. In the end, Archegos wasn't just a hedge fund collapse. It was a warning that in modern finance, risk doesn't need to be visible to exist.